What is going on, Rivian fans? Welcome back to Financial Journey. So today I want to give you a good breakdown and overview of what is happening behind the scenes with Rivian, some of which is positive, some of which is negative. So I'm going to go over all the stuff you need to know. Make sure you guys hit that thumbs up and subscribe. I always greatly appreciate that. Without further ado, let's get right to it. So it is currently down 3.79%, and that is largely because of this. So the quadruple witching hour, or the witching days, or whatever you want to call it, it is when these four components, so the stock index futures contracts, the single stock options, options on stock index futures, and also stock index options all expire on the exact same day, and that is today, so March the 17th. So today is a huge amount of volatility, and based on the price action, most likely they want to keep it below $13. So that's just my own initial interpretation of it, of course. But when it comes down to some specifics, I'm going to go over some data points and various things, and also touch on some of the latest updates, one of which is this. So Rivian R1T spotted at Mercedes HQ with manufacturer plates. So of course, I think that is a very positive sign. A lot of people are questioning this, but I think they're using this as a kind of a benchmark. And I think in general, that's happened with a lot of the American automakers, more specifically Lucid. So we already do know, for instance, that Rivian is kind of ahead of the game when it comes down to the truck EV component. So of course, it's very advantageous, for instance, for Mercedes to really review this and kind of learn from it. Once again, use that as a good benchmark. So in general, I think that's a very positive thing for Rivian. So like I said, that did come out. On a negative stance though, it's never a good sign whenever any executives do leave. And it looks like right here, Rivian Automotive's chief engineer returns back to McLaren. So of course, it is what it is, but for them to be 5 years within Rivian and then go back to McLaren, that's typically not a positive sign. So once again, I haven't really heard anything about the morale or the environment at Rivian. I've heard about other EVs and it being a very hostile kind of environment and work environment. So I don't know if Rivian is any different. Let me know in the comments below if you've heard anything as far as that. But typically my own interpretation is that whenever something like this does happen, that's never a positive sign. But regardless, I think this is a fairly good one that you need to focus on. So in general, moving on though, I'll give you a good breakdown of everything else that you need to know, including what shorts are doing. And currently they are, and on a side note, I've always bring this up because I like to use this as a good benchmark, not necessarily because it's going to have a squeeze. So just be aware of that for full transparency. Short score is currently 57, utilization is 34%. If you ever have any questions about any of this, let me know in the comments below. They are currently increasing 14.15 thousand shares today. So that's a kind of a drop in the bucket. So 48.68 million shares being overall shorted, 8.12% of the free float. That's what it works out to be. And cost to borrow average just is kind of a little bit higher today. So as you can see, it started out around 7%, dropping a little bit, but still 5.65% is the average. And based on the options activity, you do see for the most part, it kind of evenly mixed. So the markets have been open around 1 hour. And for the call premiums, there's been $651,000 worth of call premiums versus $417,000 for puts. So of course, like I said, I think it's very much evenly mixed. And that is because of, like I already mentioned, about this quadruple witching. And also on the 22nd, that is when the Feds are going to be making their interest rate decision. So a lot of people don't necessarily know where to go. But at the end of the day, as I've said in the past, I really do think that Rivian is at a substantial discount, too much so, in fact. And even more so, looking at the latest Morningstar report, it shows the fair market value for Rivian being $33.54. And as I've brought up in the past, as far as analyst ratings, a lot of the analyst ratings, even Adam Jonas, who is kind of bearish on a lot of EVs, does have some fairly good price targets. So for instance, Adam Jonas with Morgan Stanley is $26, Barclays is $28, Truist Financial, if I'm saying that correctly, is $44. And these were only done roughly around 4 days ago, so fairly recent stuff. So once again, make sure you guys do your own due diligence, because I personally feel that there is a huge amount of significant value when it comes down to Rivian, especially more so at these prices. These prices are completely crazy. Just to put it in perspective as well, right down here, so the market cap is 11.93 billion. And of course, what they recently announced based on their earnings, they had 12 billion in cash. Doesn't make sense to me. But once again, I'm not a financial advisor. On a side note, if you do like a lot of this good information, such as analyst ratings, forecasts, sentiment, short stuff, or whatever you want to know, definitely click on the link in the description below or the comments as well, and take a look at Interactive Brokers. It does have a lot of good information and it is free to look at. So once again, take advantage of that. As far as Rivian, outside of what I brought up, there was no real specific any news. There was a couple articles about them getting caught in a perfect storm, but I don't really think that's too relevant in my own opinion, of course. But when it comes down to it, like I mentioned, I brought up the options activity. Dark pool transactions for the most part is kind of in line with what is normal for right now. And keep in mind, today's a Friday, which Fridays usually do bring a little bit less volume. So today stands out a little bit, but dark pool transactions are very much linked to short, so just be aware of that. As far as secondary markets, so this is what typical retail investors do trade on, and there was some pretty big buying that's been happening. So as you can see, 1.42 million, there was 1.32 million, there was a big transaction first thing in the morning, 10.8, but as you can tell based on the bid and the ask and the price it was sold for, it does look like it was a sell. So again, you guys interpret that how you see fit, but like I said on the actual chart and the technicals, it is below a lot of the pivotal moving averages that a lot of people do typically look at. So what you need to do, and plus not only that, it is getting very close to the 52-week and also all-time low. So you have to look at the fib levels to give you a good indication of potentially where things might be going. So currently $12.90, so a little bit more of a sell-off. It is below the S3. So when it comes down to it, it is a little bit more of a falling knife as what people like to really call this. And in general though, I think a lot of people have a hard time distinguishing between for instance, a Rivian problem and a broad market problem, because as of late, especially with all the banking sector and all the negative aspects that have been coming out, a lot of people just completely cause the whole market to go down. This is where you do get a lot of good value stocks for cheap. So I know the age-old saying, buy when there's a lot of blood in the market. Well, guess what? We're swimming in blood right now. So in general, I think this might be a very good time to add to your position or make a brand new position in Rivian. So of course, I think that's something to factor in. And as far as two indicators that I like to look at, so stochastic is currently at 5, which is showing as extremely oversold. Like I've been saying as well, the fact that it's below the S3 is pretty big deal. And momentum, number of retail investors are just getting out today, probably because of the huge amount of volatility, and plus, like I said, with this quadruple witching day as well, definitely not really helping anyone. But behind the scenes, you have to look at this kind of news and see and kind of interpret that as Rivian is doing something right. So of course, I think that's what you have to really watch for. Based on the earnings, even though a lot of people do talk on how much cash Rivian is in fact burning, you need to look at improvements. And over the last quarter, they did in fact improve on a lot of different things. So in general, I think this is why you do see a lot of good analysts giving fairly good ratings on, for instance, Rivian, and even a lot of which are fairly bearish analysts, but yet they give some pretty good targets. So let me know your thoughts on all of this in the comments below. Give yourself a shout out as well if you have been buying, selling, holding, where you see things going. Let me know in the comments below. And as well, one final thing I just wanted to share with you, there is a huge promo with moomoo. All you have to do is click on the link in the description below or the comments, open up a free account, and you get one free stock. Each stock is valued up to $2,000. So even if you just do that, that's kind of a no-brainer. If you want to throw $100 at it as well, you do get additional 4 free stocks. Once again, each stock could be valued up to $2,000. And because of the whole chat AI movement that is happening, they're giving you 2 additional free stocks, one of which is AI, the other one is BBAI. So make sure you guys just at least open up an account and take advantage of that, because in among itself, that's a pretty sweet deal. So even though Rivian, a lot of other growth stocks and a lot of stocks in general are trending down, take advantage of free stuff while you can. So let me know your thoughts on all of that in the comments below. If you haven't already, hit that thumbs up and subscribe. I always greatly appreciate that. And without further ado, I appreciate you guys watching. Let's all make a lot of money on Rivian.